Many times, having a cup of coffee and engaging in a conversation with a friend is the best therapy we can give ourselves. So today I invite you to sit down and enjoy a cup of coffee in the company of one of the greatest and influential Stoic philosophers, Seneca. Seneca's life was marked by the constant practice of Stoicism. He lost his fortune twice, was exiled, rose again, and left us a precious legacy through letters and teachings on Stoic philosophy. In our conversation, we will explore 11 life lessons ranging from achieving mental clarity to facing failures. Seneca once said that philosophy provides guidance, much like in an enriching conversation. After this video, you will deeply reconsider your journey this year, so I encourage you to stay until the end to absorb each of these valuable lessons. What will determine whether the next year will be victorious is not the hopes of the holiday season, but a personal choice to follow the path of virtue, doing the right thing. Before we proceed, please like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and enable notifications to stay updated on new content. Let's make the year 2024 the best year of our lives. Now let's delve into the teachings. 11th lesson, you reap what you sow. We couldn't conclude our conversation without addressing this crucial aspect. Seneca's life serves as a true example that you will always reap what you sow. No matter how much knowledge we acquire or possess, in the end it's our actions that truly matter. It's about our moral strength to apply and live out what we've learned in our daily lives. Seneca, the philosopher who has so much to teach us about life, accepted the role of Nero's tutor for a time when Nero was still a minor, before becoming one of the most ruthless emperors of ancient Rome. Even though Seneca attempted to return all the money he received for his advisory services, Nero refused to accept it and in his paranoid delusions condemned Seneca to death. We are free to plant whatever we desire, but we don't have the same freedom to escape the harvest. The Stoics were the pioneers in understanding the human mind, teaching us how to develop emotional intelligence and fortify our inner strength, enhancing our ability to face life's challenges with clarity and wisdom. Therefore, in this new year that begins, my friends, I wish that all of us have the strength to put into practice everything we are learning about Stoicism, so that our harvest may be as prosperous and light as possible. 10th lesson, liberate yourself. In the time of Seneca, there were two types of slavery: physical servitude, which was quite common. However, through the process of manumission, a slave could attain freedom. During Seneca's era, some freedmen or former slaves achieved remarkable success, amassing wealth and ascending to high positions in Roman society. Epictetus, for instance, was once a slave, but upon gaining freedom, opened his school and became one of the most influential Stoic teachers and philosophers. The second type of slavery was psychological bondage. The Stoics were pioneers in the study of emotional intelligence and developed the concept of psychological servitude, offering Stoicism as a path to free the soul. The primary goal of Stoicism is to liberate individuals from emotional and psychological constraints stemming from false beliefs, distorted judgments, and uncontrolled reactions to circumstances. Stoicism as a philosophy guides individuals to distinguish between what can be controlled, our own actions and attitudes, and what lies beyond our control, external events and others' opinions. It encourages the serene acceptance of what cannot be altered. By cultivating emotional self-sufficiency and resilience, Stoics aim to free themselves from fear, anxiety, greed, anger, and resentment. Stoic practice involves developing a more rational and tranquil perspective in the face of life's challenges, promoting a balanced and serene approach. Liberating oneself is about reaching your full potential in life without succumbing to fear or anxiety. Stoicism provides a life philosophy aiming to free us from emotional bondage, empowering us to confront adversities with wisdom, courage, and a serenity that transcends the fluctuations of external circumstances. 9th lesson, have direction. Seneca talks about the importance of having a direction in life, stating that those who follow a path have a clear direction, unlike those who wander without a purpose, always in motion without a clear destination. Imagine for a moment that you have a task to complete and you need to use the internet for reference. Your mental focus is 100%, so you can access the internet, find what you need, and get back to work. But if you lack this direction, when you access the internet, you might want to open social media. You'll likely come across a celebrity post, the latest trending event, or a funny video. You watch and start reading the first comments. Before you know it, you've spent half an hour or an hour of your time. And now it will take a few more minutes to get back to focus, do your research, and engage in your work again. Occasionally, this behavior is harmless. But if it becomes a daily habit as a form of procrastination, something is amiss. What Seneca warns us about is that wanting to travel all the time can be a sign of restlessness or lack of emotional stability. To progress in life, we must be consistent with ourselves, avoiding this type of behavior. Being focused means closing the door to all distractions. If you have a clear direction, whether it's a goal or a life plan, each focused action is a step toward your dreams. The same goes for distractions. Each distraction is a step in the opposite direction, wasting your energy and time. For Seneca, this shows that the mind is without direction, as if it were carried by the wind. In summary, he emphasizes the importance of balancing the search for new experiences with emotional stability and coherence in our life choices. He even wrote, "We must decide what we really want and stick to that decision." Seneca highlights the importance of clarity in our goals and firmness in pursuing our objectives. In other words, it is crucial to genuinely choose what we desire in life, and once that decision is made, maintain it consistently over time. According to Seneca, people often make mistakes because they focus only on parts of life instead of seeing the whole. He compares our journey to that of an archer who needs to have a defined target. In a striking expression, he says, "When you do not know which port you are sailing to, no wind is favorable." In other words, if we don't have a clear direction in life, it becomes a series of random events. This idea highlights the importance of having an overall goal, something that guides our actions and decisions. For example, have you ever outlined a general plan for your life? What do you want to achieve this year? One way to do this is to divide your life into this year, 5 years from now, and 10 years from now. An example is Ashley. Today she is a teacher and dreams of becoming a nutritionist. Thinking about how to take a new direction in her life, she outlined a general plan with all her goals for the next 10 years. She wrote down all her dreams and goals, both professional and personal. Everything she wants for her life in the next 10 years. Reflecting on Seneca's teachings, she took a sheet of paper, created 3 columns, and divided it into 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years. She wants to be a nutritionist, have her own practice, speak English, and buy her apartment. This way, she had a complete view of what she desires for her life in the next 10 years and began to outline the actions she would take initially this year to make everything possible. The first step was to enroll in college to become a nutritionist. The second step was to redefine her budget and start saving 10% of her income to buy her apartment. This way, Ashley gained a comprehensive view of her life in the next few years and could govern her actions to achieve each of her goals. Without a defined direction, life may seem purposeless, subject to circumstances rather than directed by our choices. Setting a destination is like the first step to catch the favorable winds of life. 8th lesson, gratitude is the memory of the heart. For a Stoic, our deepest mental attitude should be one of gratitude. In Seneca's words, "In all things we should try to make ourselves as grateful as possible. For gratitude is a good thing for ourselves in a manner in which justice, commonly held to belong to others, is not. Gratitude pays itself back in large measure." What are you grateful for? Think about all the things you can be grateful for today. For being alive, for living in a time of prevailing peace, for having health and free time to watch this video. For a Stoic, gratitude is not just for good things received, but also for our very existence. From a Stoic perspective, by living with gratitude, we can foster a constant state of appreciation regardless of circumstances. This creates a positive cycle with lasting benefits for ourselves. For over 2,000 years, Stoics recognized the power of gratitude. Today, the professor and psychologist Martin Seligman has developed a simple gratitude exercise that directly impacts the brain structures affecting our emotional health. Called the Gratitude Journal, you start by writing down every night 3 things from the day for which you are grateful and how that makes you feel. Seligman explains that the human mind acts like Velcro for negative experiences and like Teflon for positive ones. This means that it's natural for us to get stuck on thoughts of guilt, hopelessness, and pessimism, but it's also common to overlook the good things we have. That's why it's so important to learn to direct attention to what is good as well. Start your gratitude journal today and recognize all the good moments in your life. As Seneca told us, nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart. 7th lesson, stay updated. While you live, keep learning how to live. Seneca. It's funny how we are surprised when we meet a friend after a long time and notice changes in their appearance. We hold on to the image we have of the person as they were, even if several years have passed. This shock reveals how our memory often preserves a previous version of people in our minds. Similarly, when we learn something, we store that information in our minds without updating it. This is how we keep useless beliefs with us. Even though they were helpful at some point in life, they have become entirely dispensable. A simple example is in childhood when we are advised not to talk to strangers, which makes a lot of sense. However, as adults, this can be limiting in social situations like a friend's party or when we want to meet new people. Seneca emphasizes the importance of continuous learning throughout life. As long as we are alive, we should remain open to learning and changing. Stoic philosophy emphasizes self-development, wisdom, and the constant pursuit of moral excellence. The journey of self-discovery and improvement should never cease in our lives. This means not only acquiring intellectual knowledge, but also developing practical wisdom that guides ethical decision-making and how we deal with life's challenges. Stoic philosophy encourages continuous reflection on our actions, values, and goals, thus promoting an ongoing process of learning and personal enhancement. 6th lesson, review your day. Every night before going to sleep, we must ask ourselves, what weakness have I overcome today? What virtue have I acquired? Seneca. Stoicism is a path that focuses on progressing gradually, one step at a time. No one is perfect and no one ever will be. That's why Stoicism is a practice. As we apply the teachings in our lives, we begin to notice the results and changes. Every day brings new situations to test our character and presents opportunities to be mindful and virtuous, making the best or wisest decisions possible. Throughout many days, Marcus Aurelius wrote in his personal journal about how his day went, and Seneca did the same in his letters. Each new day offers a chance for self-reflection and progress, propelling character development through an honest assessment of our actions. Stoics, like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, practiced a daily exercise of analyzing their mistakes, seeking ways to act better in the future. Seneca shared how he meticulously examined his day after his wife fell asleep, hiding nothing from himself and confronting his mistakes with authenticity and sincerity. We can tell a story to someone, deliver an incredible speech explaining what we believe and how we intend to lead our lives. However, when we are alone, lying in bed, in our innermost thoughts, we cannot deceive ourselves. Deep down, we know who we are and how we act. Therefore, start reviewing your day in a stoic manner and ask yourself, where did I deceive myself? Where did I succeed? What did I neglect to do? What could I do better in the future? Through this stoic exercise, you will be encouraged to evaluate your behavior each day, aiming for gradual and steady progress. Consistent practice of this exercise encourages daily assessment, promoting gradual and constant progress. In Seneca's words, do not demand that I be like the best, but better than the worst. For me, it is enough to reduce the number of my vices and correct my errors every day. Self-correction can be challenging. You can start by writing in your phone's notes, keeping a journal, meditating for a few moments. The essential thing is to progress. In this practice, recognizing errors and taking responsibility are crucial steps to enable renewed action the next day. 5th lesson, build your power. The most powerful is the one who has himself in his own power. Seneca. Nothing in our lives can be built or achieved unless we have power over ourselves. Seneca often emphasized this in his studies, highlighting the idea that true strength and power lie in the ability to have control over oneself, both emotionally and mentally. He suggests that the most powerful person is the one who has mastery over their own reactions, impulses, and thoughts. The Stoics believed that true greatness is not in external control over others or events, but in internal mastery, in the ability to govern one's own emotions and act in accordance with virtue. Someone who has themselves in their own power is seen as someone capable of facing life's challenges, resisting uncontrolled passions, and acting wisely in the face of adversity. This reflects the idea that true authority and strength come from self-knowledge and control over one's own attitudes and behaviors. Stoic philosophy offers valuable guidance for building self-mastery. This involves self-awareness, acceptance of what cannot be changed, and control of our emotional reactions. Detachment from material things and a focus on what can be controlled are fundamental. The constant practice of virtue, meditation, continuous learning, and resilience are essential parts of the Stoic path. When these principles are incorporated into daily life, they contribute to a journey of self-discovery and constant growth. Fourth lesson, roller coaster of fortune. The poor man is not he who has little, but he who craves more. Seneca. Money moves the world, and in a way we all have some degree of interest in it, as we need to pay our bills and more. Seneca was one of the wealthiest people of his time, but was fully aware of the psychological and moral dangers involved in the pursuit of financial success. One of them is constant dissatisfaction. Seneca suggests that true poverty is not related to the quantity of resources, but to the inability to feel happy and satisfied with what one has. Even if someone has an abundance of material goods, the constant pursuit of more indicates a form of poverty, a lack of contentment. This view aligns with the Stoic idea that true wealth lies in wisdom and virtue, not in the exclusive pursuit of happiness through material goods, as they are subject to change and beyond our control. The incessant pursuit of more, according to the Stoics, often leads to the slavery of passions and the loss of inner freedom. Seneca faced numerous upheavals in his life, including losing half of his wealth overnight. Experiencing this financial instability made him reflect on the roller coaster of fortune, how our financial condition can change in the face of life's surprises, and what we have can be taken away suddenly. On the other hand, what is truly good, a developed character, and our sense of value come from within, something that no one can take away from us. Seneca reminds us of the transient nature of life, encouraging us to avoid overconfidence in good times and not to give up in difficult times. In his words, in life all classes are subject to changes, and everything that happens to others can happen to you. And it makes us think of another psychological danger: attachment to money and material possessions. When someone becomes excessively attached to money, their emotional well-being and sense of self-worth become dependent on these external resources, creating a form of psychological slavery. Seneca advises seeking inner wealth based on virtues and personal qualities rather than relying solely on material wealth. Understanding that money, as useful as it is for practical life, cannot provide a lasting source of contentment and meaning. Cultivating emotional self-sufficiency and independence from material circumstances was fundamental for the Stoics. In the words of Seneca, the worst kind of poverty is that of people who feel poor amidst their wealth. Third lesson, deal with anger. For the Stoics, anger was considered the worst and most toxic of negative emotions we could have. Seneca believed that anger not only compromises reason, but also leads people to act impulsively, without considering the consequences of their actions. By calling anger a temporary form of insanity, Seneca expressed the idea that when someone is overtaken by anger, they temporarily lose rational control and act irrationally, as if momentarily insane. In the words of Stoicism scholar John Sellers, moments of anger occur as minor mental disturbances that temporarily take control of our minds. Knowing the destructive outcomes of anger, Seneca wisely asks us, if the outward expression of an angry person is so terrible, how must their mind be? Anger is not just a superficial or external response to a situation. It also indicates an internal imbalance and deep emotional disturbance. The Stoics, like Seneca, were interested not only in controlling the external manifestations of anger, but also in understanding and modifying the internal attitudes that lead to such negative emotions. In the Stoic view, anger arises when we interpret a situation as unjust, feeling harmed or wronged by something. This perception leads to a desire for revenge or retaliation, as a way of returning what we consider an injustice. The Stoics emphasize the importance of analyzing and questioning these mental judgments because they are often based on distorted or overly emotional interpretations of events. By adopting this practice, you can avoid succumbing to impulsive anger, acting more calmly and rationally in the face of adversity. Before the feeling of anger completely blinds you, question whether your interpretation of the facts is true and whether it truly makes sense to lose your head or act impulsively without considering the consequences. Extreme anger can be avoided before it dominates us through training and practice, and Stoicism highlights the importance of self-discipline and self-control. Seneca reminds us of how crucial it is not to jump to quick conclusions, as first impressions can deceive us. Instead, examine your emotions carefully and think critically before reacting. And keep in mind this reminder: anger arises only when the mind allows it. Second lesson, transform it into good. No matter what fate throws in your way, the wise person will transform it into something admirable. Seneca. One of the most inspiring aspects of Stoicism is how Stoics believe that there is always something good in a difficult or challenging situation. As Seneca wrote, disaster is the opportunity for virtue. Even the worst tragedy allows us to respond with virtue. In the Stoic view, even in the toughest moments, we have the ability to respond with virtue, transforming our problems or difficulties into something constructive in our lives. According to Seneca, regardless of what happens, we should find the positive in the situation and turn it into something good. In this way, it's not about what you face, but how you face it. For a Stoic, the crucial thing is to understand that it's just a fact of nature. Sometimes our plans or goals go awry, and when failure happens, it is our responsibility to learn from it, react with virtue, or turn it into some other kind of opportunity. Seneca compares the Stoic sage to an animal trainer capable of taming difficulties. Just as a fierce lion can be transformed into a gentle companion through training, the Stoic sage is skilled at facing and softening life's adversities. Whether it's pain, job loss, a breakup, or illness, a Stoic finds ways to deal with and transform these challenging situations. No one has control over external circumstances, but we can control our responses to them. Thus, the Stoic not only adapts, but also seizes any situation and turns it into something valuable. Whatever happens, as Epictetus says, I have the power to extract some benefit from the situation. Or, as Seneca writes, the Stoic transforms into good everything that is bad. Nearly 20 centuries ago, Marcus Aurelius wrote the following reminder to himself in his Stoic journal: although circumstances may constrain our actions, we have control over our intentions and how we react. The flexible mindset of Stoics turns obstacles into opportunities, recognizing that what comes in our way actually becomes the way forward. First lesson, it is impossible to escape from oneself. You need to change the mind, not the place, because your faults will follow you wherever you go. Seneca. Seneca reminds us that often we try to escape problems by changing our surroundings, but the essence of our challenges is not in external circumstances, but within ourselves. Recently, a friend of mine, known for his infectious joy and constant presence at parties, decided to make a turnaround in his life. He was determined to become a more centered and focused person, so he embarked on an exchange program to Ireland, hoping that this change of scenery would be the key to a more balanced life. It worked for the first few weeks, but after a while, looking at his posts, I noticed something intriguing. He was still immersed in parties and excessive revelry, the same reason that prompted him to move in the first place. This situation raises an important reflection on the illusion that changing our environment automatically transforms us. Sometimes we fall into the trap of thinking that our problems are exclusively linked to the place we live, the work we do, or the relationships we maintain. However, the true challenge often lies within ourselves, in our habits and thought patterns. As Seneca states, the error is not in the circumstances, but in the mind itself. The disease follows the patient. What do we gain by going away from everything? Seneca asks if our bad habits will still accompany us. To reinforce the argument, he asserts, if you want to escape your problems, you don't need to go elsewhere. You need to be someone else. This is not a radical suggestion to change our identity, but an invitation to self-transformation, a shift in how we perceive and respond to life. Understanding that the problem is within us is undoubtedly a shock, a harsh truth that's hard to swallow, but at the same time it's also the remedy, because taking this responsibility empowers us to change who we are. Stoicism provides valuable tools for clear thinking and strengthening our moral character. From this point, we have two choices: act or escape. Acting is a voluntary decision. We need to choose change, sincerely engage in the process, and learn to respect the time required to correct our faults. On the other hand, escape can happen involuntarily. For instance, we might constantly distract ourselves to avoid confronting our inner selves and the issues that need to be addressed within us. Seneca argued that the true source of happiness and peace of mind lies within each of us when we face our fears and strive to improve ourselves every day. In the Stoic view, instead of seeking external escapes, we should cultivate a resilient and wise mindset. Understanding that the true journey is not around the world but within ourselves allows us to face challenges with wisdom and serenity, finding the keys to our own transformation. If you've made it this far, comment gratitude. Now, to kick off 2024 taking control of your life, watch the video playing on your screen. Thank you for watching.